Good morning, everyone. My name is Amol Nirgudkar. I'm the CEO of Patient Prism, and welcome to another episode of the Patient Prism webinar series. Today, I have the distinct pleasure and honor of welcoming one of my good friends, Dr. Sulman Ahmed, who is the CEO and president of DECA Dental. And as we all know, in the dental world, DECA is the kind of the darling of the DSO industry. They've built an incredible business model. And what they're known for really is building a superior culture. And they have leveraged their growth based on really hiring the best teams and building a culture of excellence in every aspect of the patient relationship. Sulman is a first generation immigrant to the United States, moved here of Pakistani origin, but moved here from Zimbabwe. And in 2016, he was the finalist for the E&Y Entrepreneur of the Year Award. In 2017, he won that. And I remember actually, Sulman, looking at your award, and I felt so proud because I stand in your shoes as well. I'm a first generation entrepreneur myself. I could talk about you for a long time, but I'm going to give you a chance to talk. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amol. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show and talk a little bit about what we've done here.
You know, right off the bat, because it's close to my heart. I've had a similar journey as yours, not to the same extent. I want to emulate what you've done in this business, one day I will. But tell us, I mean, you came here when you were probably 18 years old, you told me earlier, moved here with basically nothing, your parents, and you've achieved the American dream, and despite all the struggles. So tell us a little bit about that journey and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Happy to share that journey. And so, just like every young teenage boy growing up anywhere around the world, there's this fixation with fast cars and, having these posters up in my wall of, for the bright red Ferraris, and then secondly, just seeing the movies and the culture that, hey, if ever afforded the opportunity, and growing up in Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, now we had a really good system all the way through the end of high school. And then most people either went to universities, as it was called there, or college as it's called here, to the UK, the US, Australia, or South Africa was a big pool too. So I insisted on wanting to come out here, and I wanted to come out here alone. And so, while my dad was kind of saying, hey, look, this is an 18-hour flight with 2-3 stops, and you're gonna have to figure out how to go. Let me come with you. I kind of told him, hey, I've got it figured out. I'm gonna do it myself. And so, that journey started back then. And like I was telling you, I think the cultural transition started right away. I landed at Detroit airport, was starving. Went to Burger King and just wanted to get, burger and some fries, but I called them chips, and the lady, was just like, we don't sell chips here, and had a little bit of an attitude. And I was like, well, you do have them. They're right there. And she's like, those aren't chips, those are fries. And so, those things start getting imprinted in your brain as a young kind of teenager in a new country, and you're trying to figure all this out. And you're like, all right, note to self, need to call those things fries because I do enjoy eating those. And so, that's kind of how the journey started. 2 or 3 weeks into it, I absolutely, hated it. It was different. I didn't kind of left everybody, didn't know anybody here. And I still remember calling my dad and saying, hey, I want to come back. This is not what it was. And, he told me, look, think of it as a vacation, hang out for 2 more weeks. And if you still don't like it, come back. And I think once that pressure was taken off, made some friends, and as I say, the rest is history. But that's how I got my start out here.
A lot of us owe what we've done in our life to how we were raised, and part of coming here to this country is a big adjustment. And as you learn to adjust and assimilate and eventually melt in the pot, you go through a lot of building a lot of skills that people normally wouldn't build here, because you have no choice but to kind of get there. And I think that helps. It has helped me in business. I'm sure it has helped you, because we're just not going to take no for an answer. We're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think sometimes that grit does come in handy especially when you're faced with the pandemic right now, right? And you're like, all right, well, it's a pandemic. It's nothing that I'd planned before, but that gets me to my first question. Obviously, you run close to 100 location DSO, and obviously the pandemic was something that you didn't plan for, and neither did I. What did DECA do, right, over the past few months, and what have you learned in these months as you've navigated this stuff? I know you're doing really well now, but just talk to us about that.
Yeah, I would love to kind of share that and just even backtrack just a little bit on that. For viewers who don't know much about DECA, we really, when I got started, and I'll spare all the details on how and why, but I wanted to create the Starbucks of dentistry. That was kind of the mindset. So when you think of a standardized model, highly retail, my view of the business has always been, that we're kind of in the people business, serving dentistry. And I think of healthcare and I think of dentistry as a retail business. So if you look at our locations, we want to be next to the Whole Foods, the Starbucks, the grocery anchors, and we want our brand to be associated, any of our brands really to be associated at that same platform as a national brand. So that was really, really important to us in how we established ourselves. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. When you come out here, you're used to usually not having a plan. There's no playbook. If you are back at the line of your high school kind of cafeteria and they run out of food, then you don't get to eat. And so that hustle is kind of ingrained in. And so, to be quite honest with you, as we started hearing all this COVID spread and talk coming to the US, I was probably one who thought it was going to be worse than what was anticipated. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it is now by any means. But towards the end of February, early March, I kind of instructed our teams to say, hey, we're going to start doing temperature checks on everybody. There's things coming. That's one of the first cues, but not only patients, more so amongst ourselves, just to make sure we don't get anybody sick, right? So at this time, there wasn't much talk about how to prevent it and all the stuff we know today. We started talking about doing check-ins in the car, and a lot of patients got pretty pissed off, right? And, big portfolio, big chunk of our business is out here in Texas. So you can imagine how that went, and just like, well, how dare you think we're going to sit in our cars? What's going on? Why can't we go in the lobby? And so, and staff too, thought we're taking it a little too seriously. It's not a big deal. So as things progressed, I think right around mid-March, there was everything kind of hit a boiling point and people were forced to kind of shut down. I think there's a pretty big appreciation amongst our staff and patients already at that time on just saying, hey, we kind of started doing the right thing already. And yeah, when people thought we're crazy, hey, maybe we weren't so crazy after all. So I think there's a lot of alignment and buy-in from our staff. So one of the first things we did right then and there within a couple of days, we created these, as we were learning more, just these videos, these patient videos and staff videos and messages on just saying, hey, here's what we know and here's how we're planning for that, right? And so one of the big things, obviously, with our footprint was just the amount of healthcare providers we have was securing enough PPE. So we got on top of that and made sure we've got enough for a while, to kind of get us through even through next year. And the second thing was just what to expect, because people, you can send emails and say, hey, there's going to be, and you appreciate this, you're a marketing guy, you can say, here's all the checklist of stuff, or you can do a 30-second video and saying, here's what's going to happen. This is what the check-in, here's the face shields, here's how we're going to present treatment, how we're going to deal with the one guest at a time. So we started doing a lot of that, but yeah, it was, April, we were just doing essential only services. So I would say maybe 30% of our portfolio was open. We took care of about 3,000 guests at that time. So just essential only services. So think about it as keeping people out of the ERs. And I'll tell you, we talk about culture and company, and at that time we had maybe 150 or so providers, and out of those, almost 120 volunteered to say, hey, we'll come in and work in April, if you need us to work. And so, I think that was kind of touching because, at a time when everybody was freaking out, we had people, making fun videos out of all the PPE and showing, hey, it's okay. Because, we are in the healthcare business, right? If you've got a toothache, what that feels like. And it's not something you can just deal with after COVID's over. So, April was essential only. In May, we were allowed to start opening back up, we did it in a very staggered kind of approach. We didn't just open everything back up. We did it in phases, but look, I think luckily enough, what happened during the pandemic, I think benefited us in a lot of ways. I think during that time was getting a lot of calls from bigger groups, smaller groups, individual dentists saying, I don't even know what furlough means. Like, what can you guide us through this? And all great people who built great businesses, right? But I think if you think about the individual dentist and the associate working there, when everyone's trying to navigate that, there wasn't great direction. And this as well as any. I think people want leadership at a time of crisis. And I think we had a pretty defined path at that time. And what that's done is draw a lot of applicants to us, So in April, we had more dentists applying for jobs than we've ever had historically. And we always have a pretty high, applicant pool. So that was interesting. And then, I think additionally with a lot of dentists not knowing when to open up, are you opening up full time? Are you not? I think we've had a huge, we call our patients guests, high guest volume of both new and existing guests. So it's been surprising, in terms of all of that. And so to, June, July, revenue wise, kind of back on where we used to be, maybe a little bit better. I think one of the issues we've had is just around staffing, especially around some of the clinical staffing, and just we've had more patients and less staff, and so I think it's been more of an emphasis on hiring up or hoping that people can come back and then and feel comfortable enough, so just all those safety precautions and measures. So yeah, it's been, nothing out of a playbook. I would say it's been a rough kind of few months, but all things considered, still feel blessed to be kind of doing what we love, and it's worked out well.
We had a discussion last week about this webinar, and you said, my God, 2020 might be a better year than 2019, given how you handle this pandemic. And, we've seen this across the world where every crisis creates an opportunity. And leaders, if you are a true leader, you can take a crisis and build into an opportunity to hire the better people, train them better, have better business models, do more same-day dentistry, all that kind of stuff, right? And I think it leads to my second question. I think what I'm seeing across the country with DSOs is that the ones that are at the very top, that are really believing that have really built good businesses, have figured out how to engage with their customers better. And I think that's going to force, in my view at least, and I'd love your opinion on it, some more consolidation in the industry. Because, it's not, traditionally the thought was, oh my God, corporate groups and they don't care about patients. But you were one of the few DSOs that started out in the last 10 years that turned it upside down. You said, no, people matter first. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be interested in your type of DSO structures or your type of DSO operations than what we had thought traditionally as corporate shops.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. We started the business back at the last recession, right, in the start of 2009. So kind of at that time we're, naive and then, energetic and just excited about the vision. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to be open 6 days and, bring all specialties under one roof. And I think the passion kind of kept driving that. But yeah, so, built the business in a recession, and yeah, look, very uncertain times, not sitting here thinking anything's over, not taking anything for granted. But yeah, I think, if you look at inherently the DSOs that have done it right, they've always had very strong clinical boards. They've got, all this auditing that goes on that you typically, don't really get. So when you take that same footprint and you say, we're going to start applying this across how patients are perceiving us and what we're going to do for them, you've got a strong group that's already kind of programmed to work through and say, okay, well, we were just doing chart audits and training doctors and helping mentor and make sure the quality of the work is good. But now we're going to take it a step further. Yeah, it really challenges your leaders to kind of grow individually and then, move on from there. So yeah, I think there's going to be opportunity. I think the DSOs that have strong bones and, have good foundational kind of, infrastructure are going to rise because they've got something to kind of sit on and fall back on. And I think to your question about, our customers are our staff and our doctors, right? And their customers are the guests that they kind of treat. So yeah, we're big on making sure that our customers feel fully supported, and whatever that may be. If that's saying PPE, if that means it's more training, if that means there's more concerns around certain procedures, and that's something we're very aware of, and it's our job to kind of get them comfortable, because if we don't, then they can't do a good job taking care of the guests. So that's at least how we view it.
The term support organization sounds as if it's a control organization. And Emmett Scott, I was talking about him the other day, and you resonate that feeling of support, because if you can support your teams, your clinical teams, doctors, hygienists, assistants, and if they feel supported, they're going to take care of their customers eventually. You don't have to worry about the eventual customers, and that's the evolution of the DSO industry, in my view, is fully getting behind the team members who are eventually going to deliver great customer service, right? At Starbucks, the baristas are your point of contact, and they build the relationship. And if you take care of the baristas are going to take care of the customers.
That's true. I think, and I think the only thing I'd add to that is our customers, right? The dentists, the dental assistants, the hygienists. I mean, these are people that are really passionate about what they do. So they don't want to be at home not doing anything. They do want to be out. It's a skill. It's the bedside manner. It's relating to these patients. These are patients, a lot of them that have been in the company, coming to us for 12 years, right? And so those relationships matter. In a world of uncertainty, we just want to provide a little bit of certainty, and it's a small piece, but I think when patients feel like, hey, I can go to the dentist and it's okay and it's safe and it's clean and everyone's masked and all that one thing where they can bring their kids to the dentist to get their braces done. I mean, that's our way of kind of, contributing during these uncertain times by providing a little bit of that clarity.
Absolutely, man. Leaders, and you've risen up as a leader, and I've seen that happen across your organizations. Everybody is happy that I've talked to DECA, and I've known a lot of your colleagues everywhere, and they've come out of this pandemic feeling so supported by the leadership in your organization. So kudos for you for doing that. I was asked to ask you this question, so I'm going to ask it, maybe put you on the spot a little bit. You're one of the most well-run organizations out there, and there's a lot of groups that are, a lot of smaller DSOs that are coming about, emerging DSOs, we call them, that want to build something like you, right? They want to follow in your footsteps. So what is the secret sauce, or is there a silver bullet? Is that one thing that you did that kind of helped you grow and scale DECA to what it is today, and then a lot more in the next few years?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but certainly one I appreciate. So I think the first thing would just be, if you want to grow any business, whether it's a de novo based platform, an M&A, or something like us that does a little bit of both, I would say you've got to standardize a lot of your processes, right? So, I mean, it could be anything. For us, it's the type of retail space. It's the color on the walls, it's the way the offices smell, it's what patients see or hear when they walk in, it's how we answer the phone. So that's just when you're thinking about walking into one of our stores. I think additionally, it sounds like something that's so played out, but it is a people business. So a lot of the people we have are really passionate about what they do. They really do think that they're kind of changing and impacting lives. A lot of those people have been here now for 12 years. So, when you're starting a business, you're trying to tell the story to other customers and just say, hey, this is my view of what we want to do. As you kind of evolve and grow, it kind of starts snowballing, because these people start telling their story. They start saying, hey, when DECA was at 40 locations, this is what they used to do. Or when we were at 25, this is what the conference looked like, and it goes so far beyond that. I think the type of people we hire, what you'll find are strong-minded, opinionated people, right? Because you want to have leaders that can kind of talk and voice their opinions and be able to say, hey, I think you're wrong, and I think we did it that way, we need to change, or whatever. But I think the other thing I always look for is humility, and so, do you have humility? Do you have the humbleness to kind of say, hey, yeah, you know what, we've talked it out, and I certainly have been wrong many times. I think that starts from the top, and if you kind of understand, look, if it wasn't for our guests, we wouldn't be in business, right? And so being rude to a staff member with each other, or, not being able to strongly express what you think, but having the humility to understand when we're wrong. I think that's something that is so important when you build a company and culture. I think that starts from the top and goes all the way down, being humble, having the integrity to do the right thing. And then you get the opportunity as a leader. So to those small DSOs, what you're doing today, whether it's 2, 3, 5, 20, 30 locations, your staff is watching what you're doing, right? And so you may think it's a small thing, and I'll give you a small example of this. And it's really to showcase how this kind of works. When we started the company around 3-4 years in, we had a lady in our revenue cycle management, and she had a young son. He was in his 20s, and he passed away while sleeping. He had, some heart issues, and she didn't have money for the funeral. And I never shared this with anybody, but I said, hey, I'll kind of cover that. And a year and a half ago, we had another incident where somebody from our staff passed away, and the family didn't have money. And I didn't even know about all this happening. But one of the girls who worked at the front office with me in that office at that time somehow knew what happened, and she covered that funeral. This time, 10. So those things, and when I finally found out, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this happened. Like, when, how, why is it already passed? And so I was like, well, and so learning about that, that's the stuff that touches you. So those are, when we talk about culture, everybody, toots this thing about, hey, we went and we took this course and we have this speaker. You can do all that. And I think that's great in terms of, incorporating into your business modules and training. I think it's all great. The Ritz, the Southwest Airlines, all those are great examples in books, but leadership starts like that. And when you get a culture where that's, your people are kind of living your culture. So it's kind of, you have to sometimes just sit back and just say, look, these are the values we've instilled. And once that machine starts, it just keeps going and going. And I think that's what separates great companies from average companies, is you don't buy culture. You can't just switch it on. You are building it brick by brick. And, we had the opportunity to do that our way by building it from scratch. So, so just watch everything you're doing. People notice, your circumstances might change as you grow, but to the dental assistant in office location number 3 or 4, things that matter to them, you've got to be able to relate to that and understand that, if you covered their medical benefits, during this tough period, that could mean a lot to some people. We had employees who were, pregnant and going to have a baby. And if that wasn't covered, that would have been, very complicated. And so it's the little stuff you do that you should never do to showcase, but, people, your staff talks about that. And those are the things that ultimately drive, because those guys are going to go to bat for you when times get tough. They're going to be the ones who want to go out and charge and represent the company. When you get to that point, you've got an army of people kind of representing your company, and that's where you want to get to.
And by the way, listeners, this is the reason why DECA is to date the highest value deal in the history of the DSO world. And it's not really about the spreadsheets. And so someone did not talk about any of the spreadsheet models or the EBITDA multiples, any of that stuff. He talks about platform, he talked about processes, he talked about people, he talked about culture, he talked about humility, and he talked about little things. These things, your values, Mark Benioff wrote this book called Trailblazers, the guy of Salesforce. He's like, your values create value. And this is an example of that, right? Your values that you have instilled at DECA, the values that you instilled that you need to care for your team members, you paid for that funeral and somebody else did that. That you cannot buy. For everything else, there would be MasterCard, but this is priceless. And this is the reason why when everybody talks all about, oh, let's just aggregate a bunch of EBITDA and let's sell it, right? They don't realize that the reason why DECA was the most coveted DSO in terms of valuation over the last decade is because of these intangible things that Sulman ended up developing, and he's got a great team to implement that as well. So congratulations. It brought tears to my eyes a little bit hearing about the funeral. Question to you. You talked a little bit about the hybrid model you have, the de novo and the acquisition model. Tell us a little bit about your de novo model, because there's a lot of people thinking about that. Obviously, we know Heartland and PDS primarily have gone the de novo model in the last few years. You've done a significant amount of de novos. I think you're also changing that a little bit. Tell us what is it, if I'm a group of 3 practices or 5 practices, and I want to, instead of buying new ones, I want to just open up two new ones. What are the dynamics of that?
Yeah, so I think I'll take you back to how this all got started. You know, I ended up going, when we're looking around, it was just really hard to find something that, again, was culturally aligned. You know, so when you look at acquiring an office and you look at the staff, and you have a vision of what dentistry should be like very clearly in your head, and you're thinking, I've got the Starbucks vision, but I go here and there's paper charts and staff that's rude and doesn't really want to work and forget about coming Fridays or Saturdays, and let alone, I mean, a lot of dentists don't want to work Fridays and Saturdays, right? Too. So culturally, it was like, how do you bring this all about? And, you know, after looking at everything, I just said, you know, to heck with it. We're just going to build it, you know, from scratch. And you know, it's going to look and feel, and this is the kind of footprint we're going to have, and these are the tenants we're going to be around. And that's what we did. And so the unit economics also matter, since this is, you know, the way I viewed it in my head was, you know, hey, if it's going to cost me $1 million, I'm just making the math very simple, to buy $1 million practice. You know, if I could open 3 de novos for that, and if I could ramp them up, you know, to say $1 million in 18 months or less, 12 to 16 months, somewhere in there, then essentially out of that same money, I've created 3 times the value. But not only have I created that after 18 months, that value is going to keep growing, right? Whereas the practice may have capped out, especially if it's someone who's retiring or done it a certain way. So that was really the impetus for getting into the de novo thing. It was, one, to get the right kind of staff. And again, it goes back to the people and that cultural, hey, these are the people I'm bringing into my heart and into my company and into my passion and my vision. And then 2, like, you know, do the unit economics make more sense? So that's what drove the model. And so, you know, today 90% of our platform is de novo, 10% is M&A. The M&A is it's strategic M&A, you know. So when we enter a new market, we look for you know, providers that have the cultural alignment that we do. And so, you know, when we entered the Houston market in 2016, we did a 4-office acquisition that was very similar, retail, on clinician kind of founded, high clinical values, integrity, retail model. So we did that 4-office acquisition, and we opened 8 to 10 de novos that year. So we grew from nothing to like 12. So that's how we view, you know, the acquisition. So it's not so much of like, hey, an aggregation of EBITDA or revenue, or just saying, just bring them all in. I think it's very much, I mean, we've turned, you know, deals down or partnerships down where everything looks good on paper and the locations are great and the revenue is great. But when you have the doctor come over and you spend time, you just kind of feel like some of the cultural alignments maybe not there, the vision's not there. You know, like I said, humility and humbleness is a big thing, and, you know, egos, you know, drive a lot of problems too. And so, you know, we're at a point where, you know, we've proven it out. We don't need to do anything. So I think and you know, I'll tell you, my team will just say, yeah, I love everything, but I think don't like the dog, you know, there's an ego issue. And then there's other people where some of that stuff may not be perfect, but we've got the infrastructure to turn it on and take over that back end stuff and market it and fix it all up and relocate into a retail center. But you've got a guy whose culture and passion, and we partner with doctor out in the South Florida market, Dr. Kusa, that, you know, has been great. And that was it. You know, we had known him for a few years. He'd come down, we'd gone to dinner, but he had sat through, you know, our clinical training program that Dr. Patel and Dr. Alice did such a great job in here. And he watched it, and he was attracted to us for the clinical culture. He's like, that's the way I want to practice dentistry. And that's when we knew we've got our guy, because everything else, everybody's doing everything else, right? I mean, there's nothing magical about it. But when you get the right people, I'm like, this is the guy I'm going to build our brand around in South Florida. And then that's what we're looking to do, you know? So those are, that's how we view the space. You know, I think if you're a guy, you know, with 3, 4, 5, 10, and you're like, hey, culturally, and I think that's what we've positioned ourselves to do. You know, you know this, we're speaking at DSO or DE or all these events. And when you come off, you get somebody from Virginia or Nashville, and they're like, hey, I have 3 locations or 8 locations. I love this. I don't want to deal with the business side. How can we affiliate with you? You know, that's where we start exploring that further and saying, you know, let's get to know each other a little bit. And, you know, I think that's kind of what we position ourselves to do.
So are you open to acquisitions across the country, or are you focusing on some markets?
Yeah. So look, I think we're open across the country with some limitations, right? So knowing that we love the de novo engine and we built that machine already, you know, we want to be in areas where there's a lot of roofs going up. There's nice retail centers. There's a lot of people moving into, you know, so there's certain states and cities that just doesn't, no one's moving there. People are moving out of there. So naturally we wouldn't be jumping up and down at that. But there's a ton of great places, you know, that people are moving into. So, you know, as you think of Florida, Georgia, Carolina, Virginia, that kind of east toward corridor, Nashville, Colorado, Arizona, you know, these are all growing kind of places, you know, so those are attractive to us.
You know, you spoke last year at your dental school graduation. You graduated from Tufts up in Boston, and you know, you spoke to the graduates. What did you learn in interacting with those graduates? Is there anything? What are they thinking about as they're coming out of dental school right now?
Yeah, so I graduated from dental school 15 years ago. I remember my first day of school, you know, the dean kind of asked, hey, who wants to be an orthodontist or an oral surgeon? And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, man, I'm just glad I'm here. Like, you know, like we breathe a little bit. And the goal at that time, you know, you made it as a dentist. If you came out and you had a 4-day practice and you played golf on Friday and Saturday and you're doing $1 million, that's what it was about, is the $1 million practice. Is like, that was the, you know, that was a milestone where you'd kind of made it. And so, yeah, I was invited to speak to the graduating class, and I just asked out of curiosity. I wasn't going to ask who wants to be a specialist or not, but I just asked who wants to have more than one location, and almost 85% of the hands went up. And it was surprising, right? Because it is that trend that you kind of alluded to. There is a trend. So there's the DSOs, however you want to define that. And then there's the guys who've been doing it for a long time. And there's the guys like us who've been doing it not for too long, but have been doing it. But there's a new breed, right? There's the guys who are very tech savvy. They're smart. They just get it. You know, they know how to build offices efficiently or buy efficiently. There's all these podcasts like this that, you know, we didn't have when we were kind of coming out. I don't even know who to ask when you talked about our last deal. You know, it was kind of, it was like, oh, okay, this is how it works. I didn't have anybody I could call and just say, hey, is this good or bad, right? So maybe call it luck or whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of resources today with, you know, the ADSO has done a great job. The DEO, you guys are doing a great job. And there's all these podcasts and all these mentorship groups. And so with that, there's a breed of entrepreneurial dentists that want to get out and have more than one location. And that is not news to anybody, right? But I think what the challenge then is with these high dental school tuition rates, you coming out, I think the mindset is also, I think today's dentists are more, you know, they're very focused on, like, as they pick where to go work, whether it's a DS or private, like, what am I going to learn? What are you going to teach me? Are you going to let me do the molar angel? Can I do Invisalign? Or are you going to refer that to, you know, different people? And, you know, so we battle all of that. And so I think one, they want to do more, right? And so I think there's a certain point, which that's a whole separate conversation of what happens and how do you get to 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 15 to 20, and what you need to do. But there's this, you know, you get to 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 15, and you kind of realize, all right, I'm really good at dentistry and I still love practicing and going around, but I don't know how to deal with all this other back end stuff, right? And so those people are looking to then affiliates. I think the smart groups are going to say, hey, you're still the dentist and you can't kill that spirit. I think when you kill that, then it's a bad relationship. But if you can give them that and say, hey, you can be the guy running it. You tell me what you need from me. I think that's a very attractive situation. So yeah, there's definitely, without a shift in the industry. I think having one office and getting to $1 million in revenue is not as exciting as it was for me, you know, or my kind of group graduating. And so, yeah, there's a trend that's going to keep pushing, you know, this growth of DSOs. And I think that sophistication is all across. You know, you've got groups that monitor and mentor and do things really, really well. And there's a heavy emphasis on clinical and chart audits and making sure everything is good. There's no overdiagnosing or underdiagnosing. You're just doing good work. And then, I think that spectrum is all across too. There's some groups that care about it and some have a different opinion on that. So I think it's very interesting times. I think we already know there's consolidation going on.
Right.
But if you think about the two extremes, right? The guys who were this 4-day-a-week dentists and, that was their model and that's what they live and die by. And then you've got the new guys who are saying, no, that's not really the model. This is what dentistry looks like today.
Right.
As that group retires or transitions out, what does this look like in 10 or 15 years? And I think it's all pointing towards more consolidation.
And that's kind of interesting, right? I would have not thought that the new generation of dentists would inherently come built in with the DSO mindset, which is very interesting observation. One of my last questions to you is, it looks like you formed, you took inspiration from Starbucks to really start DECA, and Starbucks was one of the companies. And when you read Howard Schultz's biography, you say, he really wanted to expand coffee drinking to more people, right? Yeah. And so today, people who would have never gone to a coffee shop just go into Starbucks because it was an experience, and they like the people they met there. They like the atmosphere. As we think about, there's 60% of Americans now haven't seen a dentist, right? And we want to bring these people in because our industry could be 3-4 times the size, only if we could get everybody inspired to come into a dental office. So have you thought about that from Starbucks, and then here's DECA? What can dentistry do? Like what can dentistry do to really get people, those 60% of the people, to come visit a dentist? Is there a thought process around that?
Yeah, I think that the first thing is just access to healthcare, right? So when we look at those statistics, if you're in Tampa or Dallas or any of the big cities, there's a dentist at every intersection. So there's this, there's this perception that, hey, everybody knows about dentistry because everybody goes to the dentist, but statistics have showed us that 60 to 65% of Americans don't see a dentist. So you've got to take yourself out of what you view as normal, and you think about access to healthcare in rural communities, and just across. And so I think the first thing is just education. It's not what an insurance company says that, hey, we're going to cover this. That's not what makes it normal, right? And so that's one. The second thing is, how do we empower areas where maybe the dentist can't really get out to, but how do we empower our hygienists? How do we empower our dental assistants to, maybe, be able to evaluate and bring out more awareness? So education, awareness, those are big efforts. And look, I'm part of the ADSO and their executive committee, but that's a big push. And it's not really so much about saying, let's make the industry bigger. I think just healthcare wise, people need to understand the importance of good oral care and how that impacts the rest of the body, so I think there's a lot of efforts on it, but yeah, there's a lot of work to be done on that. And, obviously feel passionate about it, but like I said, I think it just starts with, education and then empowering people to kind of get out in these communities and spread the word.
I'm really hoping the industry comes together. Hopefully even the ADA kind of comes in and joins in that effort.
It's time. Yeah. I think it's time, we work together, for the greater good versus, trying to separate out and go about it that way. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't serve people at the end of it. And so I think we've got great thought leadership at the ADSO, and we're trying to bring it all together and get the message out. It's not about me winning or you. I think it's about the people and the guests and the patients winning in the end.
And I think, and there's myths about what DSOs mean. There's a lot of education that needs to go on what a support organization means. There's people like you guys that people need to hear the message that you're not here trying to make the most EBITDA and just make an assembly line of patients. That's not what the purpose is. You're delivering a better product with a better customer experience at a good affordable price. You're improving access to care with the primary focus, which is better clinical outcomes. It has to start there. And I'm so glad you said that too, is that if clinically you're bad, then none of it matters, right? But it starts there. And I think the clinical support that DSOs have given you guys and all the DSOs we talk to, there is an intense focus on making you into a better doctor. And once you or a better clinician, whether a better hygienist, and the training and the support that provides, it's going to make dentistry, a lot more accessible and a lot more affordable as well in the next coming years. What are last question I ask a lot of people in your situation is, how do you really, and you talked about it a little bit, is about little things you do, but how do you motivate? I mean, I see the DECA picture every year. Like, it's like all these hundreds of people in this one image. It's a really cool picture. One day I want to take a picture like that. But how do you motivate people at scale, right? How do you, like, I know it starts at the top, but like, how do you keep the culture humming constantly, and getting them and to produce at the highest level, to behave at the best possible level? What do you do that is systematic, that helps them do that?
Yes, I think it's for us, yes, we talk about as companies get bigger, I think as that leadership at each level is kind of established, those values have to be aligned, right? So if I feel a certain way about something, then from my ops directors to the regional, and let's just say we're talking about a regional director in Houston who has, 10 offices, and their 10 office managers should feel that way. So that one office manager where that one assistant works has to do that. And if there's a break, then I'm going to fail because my message is not being, sent out. So I think the first thing is just having that very cleanly kind of outlined, like, this is what we will do and this is what we won't do. And there's some of that stuff, we've turned down things that, just integrity wise were not the right thing to do, even though it wouldn't have been a big deal. But, when you hear your staff, when somebody new comes and they're like, oh, if we did this and we used this lab or that, we could save this. And they're, and you hear somebody else say, no, we would never go for that because, the value or the quality or whatever. So yeah, understand we'd save $10 on a crown, but we just wouldn't do that. So I think that those values and that mindset is something, that you kind of keep growing. But I think it is really part of a family. Like it's saying, if you have, 10 grandkids, how do you know they're coming to your house for Christmas, and what can you expect, right? It's going to be what you taught your kids and then how you reinforce those values. And so what you're doing today, your kids are watching and they're saying, hey, my dad looks after his dad, so there must be something. So I should so it's, again, I hate going back to this, but it's you are the example, and then your people become the example, and it's that culture you just kind of create. So over time, there's too many people, the force is too strong. It just kind of keeps pushing it, and the people that aren't aligned get flushed out, and we're fine with that too. We're very open about that, so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how
it does. I mean, it's not an easy answer, right? How to develop a great culture, but I think when I talk to people in this industry, it really is about having a certain set of values that get pushed down, and then at every level those values matter, and anybody who doesn't fit those values kind of gets automatically out of there. But it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing where people are actually doing it. And in your organization, there's more people who are living those values that you initially started building out. It really is magical, and that's what's going to grow this industry into what it's supposed to be, maybe 4 or 5 times the size, hopefully, over the next decade. Sulman, I really enjoyed my conversation with you. I knew I would. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, especially when it comes to building a genuinely good organization that cares for its people, and everything else takes care of itself, right? And you've talked about humility, which I got that as a lesson quite a bit. You talked about building processes and platforms. You talked about doing the little things for people that could make a big impact. Thank you so much for coming on this, and I look forward to seeing what DECA is going to do over the next decade. And I intend to just watch you guys from a distance, as well as knowing you has been such a pleasure and honor. So thank you again for coming on the show, and we'll talk soon.
Amol, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure talking with you and catching up, and look forward to hopefully seeing you one day soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.